Hi there, I'm John Lincoln and welcome back to another Ignite Visibility University. Today I'm going to talk about something that is becoming more and more important. It's really always been important, but it's becoming more important in modern day marketing because of the extra data that we have access to, and that is personas. So if you don't know what a persona is basically a model of your potential customers, okay? So it could be people are going to buy from you, referral partners, right? You could even make personas of media personalities that you want to pitch, right? But really the most important thing to know about personas is that personas need to be established around a specific goal, okay? So first things first, you create a goal and then you create the personas that will allow you to accomplish that goal. So today I'm going to talk about personas and I'm going to talk about data. And while this is a very important thing for search engine optimization because it allows you to create specific types of content and market to these type of people, it's actually really important for all marketing. It's important for social media. It's incredibly important for SEM. And it's important for offline and online. So here we go. Let's dive into personas and data and how to create a persona, okay? So first things first, when you're creating a persona, you want to determine your goals first, and then you want to figure out the personas that are going to allow you to accomplish those goals, right? The people that you're going to target online, okay? So the first thing that I like to do is gather data. And I'm going to show you how we gather data and how you can gather data so that you can create personas like these little people right here. So some of my favorite tools one of the favorite ways to start is actually with social media, right? So if you go into Twitter and you go into Twitter Analytics, you're going to see some amazing data that you probably didn't even know was there, and you can use this to build a persona. Okay, so Twitter has things like the demographics tab, the lifestyle tab, the consumer behavior tab, and the mobile footprint tab. So if you can get access to a Twitter account and you have a decent following, that's going to give you a world of information on the people who are interested in following your brand. Okay. Also Facebook. So Facebook's got some great data too. If you log into Facebook Insights, you can see the people report, the post report, and the like report. Now the people report is going to tell you your exact demographic, male, female, age, location. Really powerful stuff, okay? Also YouTube has great information. So if you log into YouTube and you go into YouTube Analytics, you can see your audience retention report, your demographics report, your playback locations report, and your traffic sources report, right? Where are people coming from in order to watch the videos that you've put there, right? So these three are going to give you some really, really strong data. And just with those alone, you can build a pretty solid model of what potentially would make a persona, right? But there's more than that. Okay, so there's Pinterest, there's LinkedIn, there's Instagram, right? There's Hootsuite if you're using that as your social media management tool. So there's a lot of different parts and social media sites that you can gather data from so that you can determine these individual elements and how many people adhere to these elements and use that to create your personas. Now that's just the social media side, but one of my favorite places that we always look when we're creating personas is Google Analytics. So I'm big on Google Analytics, teach Google Analytics at the University of California, San Diego. And just to pull out a couple key points here, probably the best place to start is your audience report, okay? So your audience report has demographics, age, gender, interests, geolocation, language, location. It will tell you your behavior, and I love this report because you can learn so much about your customer here, right? You know how often they return to the site, right? What's their frequency? How long do they stay on the site? There's even a report that shows you how people migrate through your website inside of Google Analytics, a typical customer, and you can learn so much just by taking a look at that, right? And also new versus returning customers. How many people who are coming in are brand new? How many are returning? Also the technology, right? What are they using? Are they on a Samsung device? Are they on an iPhone device, right? Are they on tablets? Are they on desktop? Are they on mobile? What are the different conversion rates? How much traffic are you getting from each? You can take each of these points and then you can use that to build it into a model. And of course, it's really important to look at a couple other important tabs, and each of these have huge subsections, right? So that's the acquisition tab and the behavior tab. The acquisition tab, of course, has your different channels, right? The medium, the sources, the organic, the direct, the referring site traffic, and any particular campaigns that you've set up there, you know, and there's social media tabs and all that stuff. But really, the main thing that you want to do, go through social media, go through Google Analytics, compile all the things that stand out the most, right? What are the main traits that each of your customers have? And then save that, and then you're gonna use that to build the customer model. Now, it doesn't stop with those two tools, okay? Follower Wonk, incredibly powerful, is a tool by Moz that's going to allow you to do some great competitive analysis. So if you don't have a big social following, you can look at what your competitor's demographic is, okay? There's also BuzzSumo, which is a really strong tool for looking at profiles and for looking at content. So if you're not using BuzzSumo, great way to build personas and to gather data for personas. Also, whenever you are building personas, it's always good if, you know, I like to be on the analytics side and look at, you know, traffic numbers. But if you have data, it's of course incredibly important to look at your past customers, right? So, you know, what have they left in reviews, right? Who has purchased? Who were those people? What data do we know about those people? If we can compile that and then juxtapose that with all of this other great data that we get from social media, all this other great data that we get from Google Analytics, then we're gonna be in a really good spot to build these distinct personas that we can use in all of our marketing, right? Our SEO, our social media, and other types of marketing, okay? So really the first step, determine your goals, compile your data, and then write your personas. So what does a persona look like? Well, really, all it is about a paragraph. And that paragraph, when it's written out, it encompasses these key traits that we've gathered. Now, we take these key traits in this data and we save this in other areas so that we can always refer to it and we have this data. But it's very nice to, in the persona way, to be able to simplify this a little bit so that you can just kind of read it and get a feeling for who is the customer. So an example, an abbreviated example of that would be, Frank is a 30-year-old male who uses an iPhone 6 and lives in San Diego, California. He's a movie buff, and his favorite influencers are ... right? The browser that he uses is X. Some of the favorite websites he visits are Y. And we tried to make this as complete as possible, maybe a couple hundred words or so. And by doing that, we've just established one persona, which is Frank, right? We would make another one for Mary and Sue. And generally, you're gonna make 3 to 5 personas that you can use and always kind of go back to and show people that these are the type of customers that we attract and we go after, okay? So outside of that, you know, it's always good to do some competitive analysis when you're creating personas. There's so many great tools out there. I wrote a post on Marketing Land, the top 80 SEO and social media tools. There's some great ones in there that you can go check out that is much more complete than this. But SEMrush, SpyFu, Follower Wonk, BuzzSumo, and of course Klout have some great data that you can use to do competitive analysis. So if you're a startup and you don't have all that information yet, you can take it from your competitors and use it to build a model beforehand, right? Okay, so these are some things about personas and data. And really the goal here is to determine your goals, determine who you need to influence, right? To achieve those goals, aggregate that information, build them into buckets of people like we've done here. And then after you've completed that, you can use it for a lot of different types of marketing. I hope this was interesting to you, and I hope that you learned something about personas today, and I can't wait to see you for the next video.